I'm Dr. Nicole Anderson. I'm a senior scientist and interim executive director of academic and scientific affairs at the Baycrest Academy for Research and Education. And I'm also a professor of psychology and psychiatry at the University of Toronto. Well, the Lancet Commission published a study in a few years back that identified 12 modifiable dementia risk factors that collectively account for 40% of dementia cases worldwide. But in the context of today's conversation, the ones that I really want to focus on are cognitive decline and functional limitations, because to be diagnosed with dementia, you have to have those two things. Also important in this context are depression and feelings of loneliness too, which are both risk factors for dementia. Well, in 2014, we published a comprehensive review looking at the benefits of volunteering for older adults. And what we found was that especially the best evidence coming from longitudinal studies that follow a group of volunteers and a group of non-volunteers over time, what they found is that as people continue to volunteer, they experience fewer symptoms of depression, fewer feelings of loneliness, better cognitive functioning, and fewer functional limitations. In addition, volunteers have greater longevity. They live longer than non-volunteers do. So these are really important, especially in the context of what I just talked about, dementia risk factors. So in this context, we're talking about formal volunteering, that is volunteering for an organization. It's not including informal volunteering, which tends to include caregiving. There is evidence that volunteering in a pro-social way, that is volunteering to help others, is more beneficial than volunteering that is less pro-social. A really interesting study came out of the States. It was the Experience Course study. And what they did is they took older adults and randomized them to either assist in grade schools or to be on an inactive control, that is a wait list. And so the volunteers would work in the kindergarten classes, helping the kids with their literacy programs. And they also argued, and I think rightly so, that it was also physically demanding, because if you've been in a kindergarten room, the chairs are tiny and they're quite low. And so these older adult volunteers were basically doing squats all day up and down from these short chairs. And they were really one of the first studies to show the cognitive benefits of volunteering. So those who were assigned to work with the kids had greater cognitive benefits than the control group did. And currently in the Kimmel Family Center for Brain Health and Wellness, which is a research-dedicated community center delivering personalized dementia reduction programming, we have a team of volunteers, from youth volunteers all the way to older adult volunteers, including on advisory committee. So throughout my career, I've studied cognitive aging, focusing initially on healthy cognitive aging, looking at how especially memory changes with age. And in the last 20 or so years, I've also developed a big focus on mild cognitive impairment. In terms of my research, I'm looking at how memory changes in mild cognitive impairment, and one line of research now is looking at feelings of familiarity in mild cognitive impairment. So a lot of studies focus on recollection, which is what people usually think of when we think of memory, that you can remember exactly where you were and what things looked like and what you were thinking at the time. That's recollection. But familiarity is just that gut sense that you've experienced something before, and it lacks any of those contextual details. And so what we've done in behavioral studies is develop tasks that isolate that process of familiarity and indeed show that it is impaired in mild cognitive impairment. And what we're doing now is really trying to get more into what are the bodily signals that alert us to that we feel when something feels familiar. So looking into the autonomic nervous system and seeing whether the signals up to the brain are also deficient, leading to that lowered feelings of familiarity.